Go to Martin Brechbiel, MMR, for his Scratch Building Corner. Martin, welcome.
Thanks, Jim. Let's see if we can. There we go. That looks about right. Give or take a plus or minus an aardvark. So this is what this is supposed to be, I presume, because that's what the slide tells me it is. I'm probably moderately correct on that, because I stopped, I'm not sure when. Last time I was here. I don't know if it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, so I've sort of lost track of time. Not being firmly rooted in it, I sometimes don't know quite when I am. So, picking up where I think we were, I have grant line windows and doors laid out on walls that were made up of glued up clapboard, because clapboard doesn't come in that wide. Even if you get the 6-inch stuff, it's still not enough. So you end up gluing up the 3.5 or 6-inch or whatever scraps you have laying about to get the height that you really need for a full O-scale 2-story or 2.5-story wall. So that's where I think we were. So, oh goody, we get to cut open the holes. Who would have thought we would have to cut open the holes to put the windows and doors in? I mean, shocking. So let's open. It's a lot easier to open up holes in clapboard before you assemble it, so you have a nice flat surface to use a utility knife with. It's generally what I'm using, a utility knife and a straight edge. And you cut open all the holes. The fun holes, of course, which are obvious, are the curved ones. These aren't too bad on the smaller ones on the side here. This is the tricky one. There's 3 of those because you have this little tiny piece of clapboard here. And I think in one of these pictures, you'll see it broke off. Just glue it back on with some carpenter's glue, but that's a little bit fragile. So yeah. So gluing all these things up, there's a lot of bracing for glue surfaces all the way around this building, and the back wall's not even on yet because I wasn't quite sure what the back wall was going to look like at the time. But you want all the openings, and I did at a consistent height as you go around the building. There's, the floor is somewhere here. Well, the windows need to be consistently above the floor a certain distance that makes sense. An attic space, well, there's a window up there. But there's lots of bracing to keep it together. It's a pretty good sized structure. Somehow I've got a toolbar right where I don't need it to be. Oh, well. There it moved. Shocking. Boy, you just have to ask for it and the toolbar moves. Who would have thought that would happen? So this is 1/8 inch by whatever on the corners. It's a little bit larger than I normally use. I'm usually using, 3/32 square, but this is 1/8 because I wanted to have a little more imposing corner trim. It's a big building. And it also gives you a lot more gluing surface again. And here's the big opening for that bay window. So go around the side. Yeah, I think this is the one where I broke a little bit of the tip off. It actually doesn't matter if you break off the very fine tip because that window casting actually covers that up. So it's kind of built-in safety net. Eventually you have to cut all these excess pieces off. It's a lot of fun turning it on its side using a razor saw or a saw blade in a Dremel. I don't recommend using the saw blade in a Dremel unless you keep a good stock of Band-Aids handy and some adhesive tape. Those things are damned dangerous. Amazed you can even buy them. So go around the other side. Everything looks fairly even. There's actually, little extra windows over here. Maybe a bathroom, maybe a staircase, what have you. Then we go around back. There's a big opening wall. There will be a wall put in here, but you can see I've got all kinds of shims and bracing in here to hold things in place. This piece here is actually in there to bring this piece out so it's actually even with the corner block. So it's all glued together with goo and CA and carpenter's glue. That's pretty rigid and stiff by the time I get to this point. And here's the back wall. Well, it's kind of strange. It looks to be pieced up out of multiple pieces of clapboard and some blank 16th inch basswood, which isn't going to be seen because that's on the interior section. There's a bump out that's going to get added. So I figured, well, you know, rather than waste good clapboard, and also so I'd have a nice straight and flat surface to glue onto as opposed to gluing to clapboard, I've substituted in some scraps of the 16th inch basswood. You know, this is why you keep scraps of stuff around, because when you want to scrap, you reach into your scrap box and you're all set. Okay, here's what the back wall looks like now. So we have more of these little double windows. Here's one, yeah, missing the tip out of it again. I didn't even bother to try and repair it because I've learned, yeah, the casting will cover that up. No worries. We have this piece that's been added on to the back, a little bump out, and a door over here. And there's a reason for that. Eventually we'll get to that. And there's a door, I think, on this end over. There better be a door on this end. And well, we'll find out next week, because I don't know if there's a door on that end. These are the mysteries of life, whether there's a door or not. So next time, closing in a roof and other sundries, whatever that means. You know, I will tell you on the original kit for this, the American Model Builders kit, or with the laser art kit, the roof is a horror, because whoever designed it and set it up in the laser cutter did not know three-dimensional geometry, and they cut the roof as if it were flat. And you take a flat roof and try to put bevels into it, it doesn't work, strangely enough. So fair warning, if you ever stumble across one of these kits, you're going to have to recreate the roof on your own. So if there's any questions, now's the time to scream them out.
Martin, this is Jeff. On that siding, what were the window openings were not pre-cut?
Oh, no.
So when you cut them, do you do something to protect against the siding splitting?
Not really, no. I'm using, like I said, the standard utility knife with a new blade in it against a steel ruler. It may take 3 or 4 passes before you get through, and I'll finish it up with a scalpel, but it's, no, I don't worry about it.
Okay, so I find sometimes when you, obviously cutting across the grain is fine, but sometimes when you're cutting with the grain, the material tends to want to split.
It can do that if you if you're pushing a little too vigorously or too aggressively. It also depends what you're cutting against. You know, I'm cutting against a piece of 1x8 oak. That's about I'm guessing a foot, 14 inches long. So, you know, and again, and I'm also doing that at a slight angle so I don't catch the grain of the oak with the tip of my blade. So it's yeah, I don't really, you know, one of those things you do carefully and slowly. You know, 3-4 passes. If you rush it, you can split the wood. Well, if you rush it, you can also take off the end of your thumb. So, you know,
Martin, correct me if I'm wrong. When you say you're going to make 3 or 4 passes, what you really do is you kind of lay the knife on the wood. There's no pressure for the first pass.
Well, there's enough just to put a line in it. So when I go back, I'll hit the same line. I want to put a little nick into it. The first one's not that deep. The second and third or fourth, they've got some real pressure behind them.
Gotcha. But the first one is the one that it's kind of lay the knife there and breathe hard.
Yeah, but you want to make enough. You want to hit it just enough so you've caught it. You know, if you've caught the you've got a groove that you can follow going forward. Because if you don't have that, you put more pressure on the second cut, then your blade wanders.
And really, it's the first cut that tends to split the wood.
Depends how hard you're pushing.
I say if you press it harder
Oh,
than
if you push it hard, yeah, it could. But
Yeah.
again, it's also having it on a good, solid, flat cutting surface. And I like a good hard, people like using cutting pads. I've never liked them. I like cutting on a piece of oak. I want something that's substantial and hard, and I'm not going to it's not going to give. I'd rather what gives is the piece I'm cutting.
Gotcha.